hear me in the foyer? Y'all got me good? Am I too loud out there? Am I good? Too loud? A little hot? I can tell you this, we're getting used to having our children here attending our meetings over the last few weeks. We've had more activity and we've had a lot better attitudes from the commissioners when the kids come. So ladies, we need y'all to come more often, please. And I know we've got some more teams out in the lobby as well. While it's a fun event, however, we do have some business items that we're going to have to conduct here in just a few minutes, so bear with me. Some of it may sound a little redundant, but we have to conduct business in a certain manner to make things legal-like. So we do have copies of our agenda readily available on the big table up here to my right. So we're going to go ahead and get started. If you would please silence your cell phones. This evening we're conducting a combined work session and regular meeting for the White County Board of Commissioners. Today is Monday, March the 28th, 2022, and I've got 4:32 p.m., so we are past time. And at this time, I'm going to ask, we've kind of ordained him as our fill-in invocationer. Dean Dyer, would you bless these proceedings?
Would you like to? Please bow with me. Gracious Heavenly Father, thank you for a wonderful day that you have given us today. And Lord, we just enjoy that and all the other blessings that you have bestowed on us individually, as a county, as a state, and a nation. We ask your blessings now in this commission meeting as these men will work and to go over items of business of our county, that you would give them insight and judgment on what to do in each of those. We ask your blessings on the meeting and those who are attending, and all this we lift in your holy name. Amen.
If you would please rise as we recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That sounded great. And in case I didn't, I'll call this meeting to order. Can't remember. This is great, the turnout, so if I seem off my game just a little bit, bear with me. Moving on to our agenda, item 4. Consider adoption of the March 7th, 2022 regular meeting and executive session minutes. The March 17th, 2022 call meeting and executive session minutes. The March 21st, 2022 call meeting executive session minutes. And the March 24th, 2022 call meeting and executive session minutes. Gentlemen, I hope you had an opportunity to review those minutes. If so, do I have a motion to approve as presented? Commissioner Bryant, motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Goodger, second. Any questions, comments from the board? With none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed say no. Motion carries unanimously. Now, let's get to our presentations. First, on item 5 under our presentations, will be the proclamation to the Northeast Georgia Veterans Society in honor of Welcome Home Vietnam Veterans Day. And one reason why I chose to conduct this first was so that our children would have an opportunity to honor our veterans, for the men and women who served our country in Vietnam, and hopefully in today's world that we are doing a much better job in honoring these men and women who have given of themselves, their families gave their family, and it's our way of saying thank you. So at this time I've asked Commissioner Holcomb if he would read the proclamation, please.
White County Commissioners Proclamation. Whereas our nation's Vietnam War commemoration gives us the opportunity for all Americans to recognize, honor, and and thank our Vietnam veterans and their families for their service and sacrifices during the Vietnam War from November 1, 1955 to May 15, 1975. Whereas thousands of brave Americans served our country in this conflict with courage, honor, and valor. And whereas more than 58,000 individuals made the ultimate sacrifice in Vietnam, and more than 300,000 more were wounded in combat. And whereas 2,086 Americans are still missing and unaccounted for from the Vietnam conflict, and their families, friends, and fellow veterans still endure uncertainty concerning their fate. And whereas Veterans Affairs Secretary Dennis McDonald has designated March 29, 2022 as a day to honor those who have, quote, borne the battle, and to extend gratitude and appreciation to them and their families. Now, therefore, the White County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim March 29, 2022 as Welcome Home Vietnam Veterans Day in White County, and urge all citizens to join in this special observance and take the opportunity to honor and thank our Vietnam veterans for all they have given in the service of our country. Proclaim this 28th day of March 2022.
Two things. One, tomorrow at 10 a.m. at Freedom Park, there will be an event honoring our Vietnam veterans. And number two, if you served in Vietnam during this conflict, this war, would you please rise? With that, would you be okay if we take a quick photo?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Should have thought that through. Let's just do right over here. Let's do this. Let's do right over here.
Have tell us where to get, how to get. You just tell us what to do. Stand. And don't talk.
Three, two,
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Again, thank you for that. And bear with us. When we do our proclamation, sometimes it takes a couple extra minutes, so we appreciate parents, your patience. Let us get through these. All right. Next item. Everybody stare at it.
Yeah, not me.
Put on speaker.
I'm trying to be a little lighthearted around here, folks. Okay. All right, for our next proclamation. All right. This is presentation of proclamation and recognition of White County Parks and Recreation basketball teams who participated in the 2022 Georgia Parks and Recreation Association, the GRPA State Championship. First, I'm going to start with this. Whereas the White County Parks and Recreation Youth Basketball Program had a remarkable 2022 season, with 3 teams making it to the Georgia Park and Recreation Association State Championship, with 1 team, and that being the 10U girls basketball team. You can smile. It's good. Having won their final game and having, and I'm sorry, what was your final record? It was, y'all were 8-0. I'm reading it wrong. I've got two copies of the proclamation. Members of the championship include the following: Camilla Anderson, Bree Brookshire, Bailey Collins, Allie Fowler, Kinsley Hall, Evelyn Knight, Adeline Morgan, Naomi Nicely, Carol Watkins. Now there's one player I've left out. And at my prerogative, I get to do this. This young lady is one of 2 people who have ever beat me at my court at my house. In addition to my son, this young lady, her name is Ansley Vandiver. She's a lefty. She beat me in pig. And I admit it. I'm man enough to admit. We started pulling the stunt. We started calling her shots, and she's left-handed. I'm not. She started shooting everything left-handed. And I said she cheated, but she didn't really. But Ansley, I'm looking forward for a rematch this summer. Okay. All right. And by the way, Ansley is my niece. So if you wonder why I'm picking on her a little bit, that's my prerogative. So anyway, okay, moving on. All right, our coaches, Dexter Morgan, Courtney Morgan, and Chip Brookshire. All right, next, now those were our state champions. Next, in our White County 8U girls basketball team, state runner-ups, having a record of 5-2. Members of this team include Bentley Allison, Mila Carter. If I mispronounce names, I deeply apologize. For anyone who has heard my brother preach, he has a hard time pronunciating things from the pulpit as well. So, and Andy, you can go back and share that mark I was picking on him here in this setting, please. I'll explain later after our meeting, ladies and gentlemen. Malaya Coley. Did I pronounce that correctly? Julianne Harris, Phelan Jones, Sawyer Kennedy, Madeline London, Haley Norris, Brianna Oakes, Emily Teague, and our coaches, Matt London, Drew Whitlock, and Brian Teague. All right, that's our 8U. All right. Now, whereas the White County 10U boys basketball team were contenders in the 2022 state championship tournament, having a season record of 4-2. Members of this team include Jonah Cash, Ashton Elrod, Hot Rod, Connor Henson Ellington, Jackson Hoosline, Cash Lowry, Carter Moss, Owen Rogers, Grayson Snidler. I'm sorry, it runs in my family, ladies and gentlemen. Lane Stanley, Jackson Sutton, coaches Carlos Lowry, Victor Moss, and Adam Cash. All right, whereas the White County Board of Commissioners wishes to recognize the countless hours of practice spent and many miles driven as coaches, parents, and grandparents supported the youth involved in this exceptional season. And whereas this past season will result in many lifelong memories, training for improvement in basketball skills, and valuable lessons learned about teamwork. Now therefore, this body, the White County Board of Commissioners, in recognition of the accomplishments made by the White County 10U girls, 8U girls, and 10U boys youth basketball teams, does hereby proclaim Monday, March 28, 2022, as White County Youth Basketball Champions Day in White County. That's proclaimed today, the 28th of March, 2022. Let's give them all a hand. All right, we're going to do a picture with them as well. What I'd like to do is for the 10U girls, if you don't mind, we're going to step back, and we're going to let you girls come up here in front of us. We'll get our picture taken. Is that all right? So you guys can come up here. You girls hold that. Okay. It's all right. All right, let's start here. All right. Let's start with the guy in the blue shirt. Wayne.
Here we go, on three. 1, 2, and 3. All right, go ahead.
1, 2, 3.
We good? All right. Okay. Congratulations. All right. Okay. You ready for a rematch? Coaches. Now, if the 10U girls, thank y'all. And one thing, I do want to say this to the coaches, while we're kind of interrupted here. To the coaches, thank you for taking time. I know it's one of the challenges that Kimberly and Dina and all the staff, those challenges trying to get folks to volunteer time to coach and to make it to the playoffs, take it that extra step, to spend your entire weekend down towards Savannah in South Georgia. Thank y'all, all of them, and I appreciate it. All right, 10U girls, come on up. I'm sorry, 8U, 8U. 8U, I'm sorry, 8U girls, any 8U? Y'all come up here. Now that proclamation has everybody's names on it, so, all right. Y'all make us look better. Blue shirt guy.
Going back, y'all each take a step. Right, girls, y'all are fine. Right there. All right, now even up.
Are we good?
We're good. 3. Here we go. 1, 2, and 3.
All right. Black shirt. Blue shirt. Great. All right. Girls, congratulations. All right, here we go, girls. All right, 10U boys. Come on, guys. Now, please don't leave me hanging. Slide on down. Slide on down. All right. All right. Okay. Do we need to slide this way again?
Yeah, if we bring some weights back over.
Okay, y'all slide that right over here. Are we good? All right. Goodness, you're about as tall as I am.
Here it goes. 6 miles and 3. 1, 2, and 3.
One, two, three. Perfect.
All right. Guys, congratulations, guys. All right. Okay, we've got one more proclamation. And after this, we're going to get started on to our regular business. And after we get finished with this, everyone, you're welcome to hang out with us the rest of the afternoon if you'd like. But after this, if you do need to slip out, I'm going to take about just a couple of minute siesta and let you guys slip out. Then we'll get back on to regular business. All right. It's a joint proclamation. It's Child Abuse Awareness Month, April 2022. Whereas more than 10,500 children were in foster care and more than 464,100 children required the services of Child Protective Services last year in Georgia. And whereas child abuse and neglect is a serious problem affecting every segment of our community, and finding solutions requires input and action from everyone. And whereas COVID-19 pandemic has increased the risk for children in all circumstances as families and communities may become isolated and face diminished resources. While children were spending additional time online for education and recreation during this pandemic, they are also at an increased risk for online exploitation and cyberbullying. Whereas exposure to childhood trauma has a powerful adverse effect on lifelong physical and mental health and is recognized nationally as a major public health issue. And whereas child abuse can be prevented when all citizens become aware of the importance of supporting community leaders and parents to raise their children in a safe and nurturing environment. And whereas communities must make every effort to promote programs and activities that create strong and thriving children and families. Now therefore, the White County Board of Commissioners, the City of Helen, and the City of Cleveland do hereby proclaim that April 2022 as Child Abuse and Neglect Prevention Month in White County. And we urge all citizens to recognize this month by dedicating ourselves to the task of improving the quality of life for all children and all families. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a subject that is very serious, and unfortunately, I think it's become more of an issue as the proclamation stated with the isolation. I won't start preaching, but I believe God created us to fellowship with one another, to encourage one another. And over the last couple of years, we didn't have that as much. We kind of kept to ourselves in some instances. So, in certain, unfortunately, sometimes children bear the brunt of that. So, if you see something, say something. Simply put. So, with that, I know we've got some folks here. Would you guys like to have a photo with this?
And make sure that you get your pen wet. They wanted those to be in the picture too.
Want this in the picture? Okay. All right. Now, the rest of this needs to be signed by folks. Y'all taller than we are. I am. Good. Is this what we're going to be holding these?
Yeah.
Okay. Feels.
Three.
Appreciate it. We'll get to that. Thank you. Yeah. We keep these going. All right. Tell you what, you're welcome to stay, but I'm going to take a little break for just a moment. And if you need to step out, now's the time to do so. We're going to take just a couple of minute break. So, parents, if you need to pull your children out, that's great. Otherwise, you're welcome to stay here. This is an open meeting. So, coaches, what do y'all need them to do?
I think they all have other sports activities to get
All right.
to. For some reason, they don't know how to stop.
Now, the commissioners are paying for free ice cream at Dairy Queen for everybody, right? No. Good thing.
Brent Myers, NY.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience. One thing I failed to share with them that if they keep up this these winning ways, I thought we may need to build them a new two-court gymnasium. Is that a good idea?
Is that in the minutes?
All right. Second, all in favor? It's on its way. So, how about that? Okay, now let's get on to actual business. The first being our land use items, item 8. And let me, for those who don't normally attend our meetings, how this will go, I'll ask Mr. Sell from our planning department to give us a staff overview of the application. Then I'm going to ask the applicant and/or a representative to come before us and in your own words, share with us what you've got going on, and that'll give us as a board an opportunity to ask you questions directly. And just so you'll know, we do have copies of the public forum, the public hearing, those comments, any that were made, as well as the comments from the Planning Commission. We have those minutes and the attached packet within our board books. And normally, this is normally how it flows. I'll ask for a show of hands of those who are in support, and perhaps those who are opposed or have concerns. That's it. The chair's discretion, and because the public hearing was held by the Planning Commission a few weeks ago. And then after that, I'll ask for a motion from the board. And normally it's one of 3 things. 1, motion to approve. Number 2, motion to perhaps deny. Or number 3, there could be a motion to table if there's questions that can't be answered here this evening. So here we go. I'm trying to set the stage there. Item 8, consider land use application filed by Marlon Luce, I apologize for that. 3 district property located at 120 Hogan Road, Cleveland, 30528, from a C1 community commercial district to R1 single family district. Tax map and parcel 078-181A. Total acreage is 1.09. We have a recommendation, it looks like from the Planning Commission, unanimous recommendation for approval. Mr. Sell, you have the hill.
Okay, this is a situation where they bought the property a few years ago. It's got a house on the property, but the property is zoned C1, so the house is actually a non-conforming use. They came into our department to take out a permit for a swimming pool, but because you're non-conforming, you can't expand. So what they've asked to do is rezone R1, which is the actual use of the property, in order that they can add a swimming pool to this property. So they'll be in conformance with the R1 district. As you mentioned, we had a public hearing, there was no opposition, and the Planning Commission voted unanimously to recommend approval of this rezoning to R1, which is the traditional use of that house.
John, a question, and you and I have had a chance, I haven't had a chance to ask you this. We as a board, we try to use some common sense on items, if at all possible. You know, this has been a house for decades, and I understand apparently when we converted to land use or zoning, that the property was picked up, I presume, with proximity to 115 Duncan Ridge Road, which is probably parcels around the area, because that tends to lend itself to being commercial in nature. Given the fact that it was a house, why couldn't we just issue the swimming pool permit without them having to jump through these hoops?
Well, because your ordinance says that a non-conforming use cannot be expanded. So if you can't expand it or add on to it, and that would be another non-conforming use on that property. But that's the way the ordinance reads right now, is that you can have a non-conforming use and live there, you just can't expand on a non-conforming use.
And that may be something, next time we start tweaking our land use, we may need to, if state law will allow this. I'm just saying we gotta use some common sense.
Right.
I hate the fact that these folks had to jump through this hoop. I understand that's the rule. I got it.
And I agree.
But we've got to be able to find some common sense. You follow where I'm going, what I'm trying to accomplish here.
But we have the same situation, on some cases where it's been an industrial use for a long period of time in a residential area. Do you want that to come before you? When that was the way it was before we went through it, it did not get picked up during that process, and nobody paid attention to it, so we've got the same situation there. It's a non-conforming use, you can stay with what you got, but you can't add on to it.
I think when we look at these guidelines, ladies and gentlemen, we do look, it's if not every year, every other year, we look at our land use plan. We try to find ways to use a little common sense, what can be incorporated into the plan, so that these situations don't occur. And it's amazing the things we find that we can do better. Hopefully we can find ways to do better. So John, I'm not.
There should be an administrative way.
Well, that was my next thing.
Yeah.
Administratively, we've got to find a way to let these, we got to do better.
Okay.
So with that, so let's make a mental note, everyone, for our staff, that when we pick this, open up our land use, and gentlemen, I'm just not trying to run the roost here. How do y'all feel the same way as I do?
I'm trying to figure out, John, has the house been taken off of this large tract of land, or is it part of the large tract of land? Is it going to stay? Tell me what I'm looking at. I see the blue lines around the house. Does he own all of the property?
I'm gonna let Mr. Luce
Okay.
answer those questions.
Okay. Hey, real quick, hold on 1 second. Any question for John before I have Mr. Luce?
Sorry.
Okay, all right. Mr. Luce, come on down. Kind of in your own words, tell us, I think we've got it figured out, but
Yeah, he described it pretty well. We purchased approximately 2 years ago. Never paid any attention to the zoning. Had no idea what it was. We submitted for the pool. Now, when we purchased it, it actually was already split up with 2 different tax maps for whatever reason. I guess previous owners, I don't know how many years ago that took place, but we purchased it, we purchased it as one property, but it does have 2 different tax parcels.
So you own everything inside the yellow line?
Inside the yellow, yes.
What is it zone?
commercial.
It's all zoned the same,
It's all zone commercial?
yes. However, the bigger part of it is under, under the conservation plan for, I guess, agriculture, but it's all
So
zoned.
that brings up another question.
How did we get here?
How did we get where we're at with commercial property and conservation?
Maybe
Please
it's
no.
in the second.
Well, no, and we're not, bear with us.
No, we're not.
And ladies and gentlemen, this is a combined work session and called meeting, so normally the last Monday of the month is when you get to see us making sausage, in a manner of speaking. This is how we get to where we're trying to go, so bear with us just a moment.
And it was previously under, it was under conservation when we purchased it. We just extended it or whatever they do.
No, I don't blame you.
No, I don't blame you either.
How many acres is it?
How many acres is the total tract?
I think it's like 18 and a half total.
16.19, 16.19.
Well, it's just surprising that it's not A1 instead of C.
Well, and this was done, I know, before, John came on board with the county. This was, like I said, 7 years ago. And I know historically, anytime you enact land use or there's a footage, I don't know what the formula is. You want to go 1 or 2 blocks away from your main intersection because you foresee that being as commercial development one day. And I see, but how we got this far, because the property does adjoin the old urban sawmill location. And that's industrial, or it used to be, at least. Anyway.
So have you, has this been surveyed and broken out as a separate piece of residence, or are you wanting to rezone the whole, everything inside the yellow?
Well, when we went to planning and zoning, he said since it's already separated, we could just do the one piece.
Is it separated?
Yes, correct, John?
Yes,
Yes.
there's 2 different properties.
What's coming before us is the acreage with just the house.
Correct.
It's 1 acre and some change.
So we're gonna leave the rest of it like it is?
Yeah, and that's the changes and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't do any paperwork on it. I don't know if it's
No,
an
you don't have to change
advantage
it
or
for me.
disadvantage to go.
You don't have to change it for me.
That's your decision.
This brought up a kind of a unique question for commercial property being.
I think it goes, if I'm not mistaken, actually, the property just below me is like 10 acres, and that's, it's residential, but It's just kept the same zoning, commercial zoning.
That would, we done dealt with that, and we done dealt with that next property, it belonged to,
Mr. Mull, Alan Mull.
No, you're talking about Chastain?
I'm talking about
And
Chastain.
Chastain, yeah, Chastain's to the left of the.
Okay, okay. I'm good, I'm fine, I just asked a stupid question, I guess.
No, it's no stupid question.
So, you know, when we did the land use in 2014, we all sat here and talked about, we knew some things were gonna slip through the cracks, and this is just another one that did that, so. There were a lot of pieces of property that was looked at now.
What we do this?
Yeah, we knew we were gonna have to take care of these someplace down the road.
Right. What we do this, Mr. Luce, if you'll just take a seat, I'm gonna move this forward, and I'll be blunt, we'll get you taken care of here in just a few minutes. If you are here in support of this application, and again, not at each of our meetings, many times we don't have anyone raise their hand, so don't look at that always as a positive or negative. If you're here in support of the application, please raise your hand. If you are concerned or opposed to this application, please raise your hand. Okay. Gentlemen, I know we're all thinking similar stuff here. I'll be very blunt. Is there a motion from the board?
Motion approved. Second.
Mr. Holcomb first, Mr. Nix second. Discussion. Okay, with no discussion, I have a motion and second for approval. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed say no. Motion carries unanimously. Ms. Lucy, thank you.
Thank you.
Again, I do have to say our apologies. Like I said, the previous owner, these notifications were sent out, it was notified in the public organs. But we just got to take care of though.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. You guys have a great day. All right, moving on to item 9. Consider the land use application request filed by David Kell on behalf of Kenneth and Margaret Kell to request a conditional use permit at 6829 Highway 75 alternate 75, that's what I like to say it. Helen, Georgia 30545, tax map parcel 042C-055, total acreage is 1.22, proposed use is place of short-term rental program, and present use is R1 residential single-family district. And on this one, we also have a planning commission unanimous recommendation for approval. John, you have the hill.
Okay, the parents of the applicant recently moved out of the home. The applicant has had power of attorney for his elderly parents, and so he's looking to sell the property, but before he does that, he's been advised that having a short-term rental conditional use permit on this property would make it more valuable for the sale of that property. So Ms. Holtzclaw is a realtor, and she's representing the applicant who currently lives out in Washington State. We did the pre-applications and all the forms over email and on the phone, so he could come through with that. We did hold the public meeting, there was no opposition, and like you stated, it was a unanimous vote to recommend approval of short-term rental on this property. This is in an area where we have several others that we've granted conditional use permits on, and I think in the time, between the time that they get this conditional use permit and selling the property, if they do decide to rent it, Mr. Kale's brothers here would be the local manager to do that, and they would have to get their business license and do that in order to do so. With that, I can answer any other questions, and then Ms. Holtzclaw is here to answer questions as well.
John, even though the applicant, the initial plans, and I respect the fact they've got some health challenges, is what I'm picking up. Mr. David Kell's having to take this action, and Ms. Teresa, we may segue into that in just a moment, but has the applicant, have we shared with them the rules and regulations with the short-term rental on the expectations from the county?
Yes, it's part of every application that we send to anybody. The last 2 pages of that application is the short-term rental ordinance, and we call attention to the fact that they have to have adequate parking, they have to have a local 24-hour contact here designated with us, and the other rules that are in that ordinance. But, everybody gets a copy of that as part of their application.
Gentlemen, any questions for John before he sits down and Miss Teresa comes? I presume Teresa's coming.
Teresa, Holzclaw, yes, sir.
It's Holtzclaw, I apologize.
Story of my life.
Come on down. You're the next contestant. And I've known you forever, and I still did it.
It's happened since I was
Kinda.
young, probably, so.
I think we have an idea, but in your own words, I know you're representing the Kales, kind of what's going on here.
Well, I met with Mr. and Mrs. Kalen. They are on up in years and not in good health, and they moved to Colorado to be with their daughter. And we talked about putting the property on the market, and I told her that in my professional opinion, if the home was approved for vacation rental prior to that point, that we might expect a little better pricing in the marketplace than if it were not approved. Considering its location and proximity to Helen, there's a vacation rental property just across the highway, immediately across the street. I advised them about the rules and regulations, and I also told them that going forward, if we did get an offer on the property for someone who wanted to rent it, they would also be apprised of the rules and regulations as part of them making an offer on the property. We had it on the market briefly, and we found out that we had some issues with the house that made it not marketable. So it was taken off the market again for some repairs to be done. And so they'd like to have that as an opportunity going forward. But of course, it doesn't limit it to that use. And we may find a single-family residence that wants to live there on a full-time basis.
Well, you know that in a conditional use permit, you can't live there permanently if you only.
Yes, you can. Yes,
That
sir.
would be in the
That would be,
zoning.
yeah, if it's R3, seasonal cabin, you can't live there full-time. But with a conditional use permit, you can live there full-time, or you have the option of doing a short-term rental. And the conditional use permit does stay with the property and can be transferred.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions, Ms. Holtzclaw? Okay. Ms. Holtzclaw, keep us moving here. Give us just a few minutes and see what the pleasure of the board is. Thank you. All right, as I did just a moment ago, if you're here in support of the Kales request, please raise your hand. Okay. If you are opposed or have concerns regarding this request, please raise your hand. All right. Gentlemen, we've heard the request. We've got the documentation in our file, what the Kales are doing here. Just putting it candidly, what is the pleasure of the board? Commissioner Bryant, motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Holcomb, second. Any other discussion, comments from the board? Okay, with none, closed discussion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Aye, opposed say no. Motion carries unanimously. Ms. Holtzclaw, thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right, moving on to item 10. Mr. Derek Knupp, our Public Works Director, provide an update on the bidding process for our spring and summer road projects. It's going to be tab number 10 in our packet. Derek, you have the hill and
Just tell me what you want on the
Okay, I was gonna say, I can't lip read. Just click on the first one, the next one. So, good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner. Glad to see everybody's doing well. This is just an overall update of where we're currently at with our plan for this coming year. You may recall that earlier in the, I don't know, November timeframe or so, toward the end of November, we had originally had Asbury Mill set up as the project for LMIG. So we went back and really dug down into the numbers, into the weeds of this thing, and we actually think that we can do a traditional mill overlay and patch on this project and come far under the $1.5 million that was originally estimated. So right now, we currently show Asbury Mill coming in at $879,000. With that savings, what I would recommend that we do is try to do some patching on Skips Mountain Road, and that would add $269,000. Shannon, I'm sorry, could you go to the next slide, please? We'll come back on in just a second.
I'll have to pull your pricing one up.
Okay, so I'm looking at this spreadsheet. There you go. And so also Gerald's Road was brought up to be done as one of the spring projects. Given that the scope is the same, we can make the scope the same as what's set up in the Elvin project, and we'll already have a contractor on site doing Skids Mountain and Asbury Mill. My recommendation is to add Gerald Road into the scope of the Elvin project, and that project is valued at around $194,000. So at the gist of what I guess I'm trying to tell you is that we have the original project was just under $1.5 million shy, but doing Asbury Mill as planned, adding Skids Mountain and Gerald's Road, we're looking at having a cost reduction of around $148,000 than what was originally estimated. Can we go back to the schedule now? I'd also like to share with you the schedule, which if you look here, this kind of gives you a very broad overview of our current schedule, what we're looking at doing. As you see, we're scheduled to bid the Elmeg work beginning April 7th. And so we are on schedule to meet that date. And on May White, as you've seen, we actually started today contacting property owners and discussing easements and looking at utility relocations and that sort of thing, some upfront items. So what I would envision was that our forces would move in potentially beginning on April 21st on May White Road, so that we can move down and get May White and Hesker done. And if you'll notice on the paving part of May White and Hesker, that doesn't come until mid-September. So, you know, we're not really putting a project or an estimate or a bid out right now for the paving because it's just so early. But it wouldn't, you know, if we get a paving contractor in, we'll have them do both those roads at the same time, and we can't get them in until we're through the Hesker. So.
All right, and that's with us doing the prep work?
Yes, sir, that is with us doing the prep work. Yes.
So those estimates we went over a few weeks ago, those estimates included the prep work, so.
Yes. Yes.
One question on Asbury Mill, going from the FDR, for those in the audience, FDR is full depth reclamation. It's a little different process than your standard paving and resurfacing. Essentially what it does, it grinds up the existing asphalt, mixes it with concrete. I'm paraphrasing here. It lays it down, and you come back over that concrete surface with asphalt. You're saying that, are we, let me articulate this right. Are we possibly, should we do FDR on Asbury Mill, or do you feel, I want for the record, that you feel that Asbury Mill does not need the FDR?
In my opinion, Asbury Mill does not want FDR, okay, because of the amount of patching. Normally, that's the deep patching is really what determines, animal center there. But if you ride, there's a lot of places that's really bad, and some places that aren't so bad. And so, if it was my road, I would do an FDR. So I would get still a good quality project. It's going to last, quite a long time, and at a huge, almost a 50% reduction, just under, just almost 50% reduction in cost.
Yeah. What I want to make sure is that by not doing the FDR, and I'm all about saving money, okay, but are we sacrificing the long-term quality, return on investment to the citizens by not doing the FDR and just doing the asphalt?
I think your return on investment is going to be further. Your dollar's going to go further doing what we're talking about doing, because it's not going to be doing the FDR is not for this road. I just don't think it's warranted.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I take it that the price of concrete is what drove the price up on that.
It is. It's gotten up. Portland cement is outrageously high. you can get it, and that's another variable that, you know, will weigh in with the FDR application. You know, frankly, I'm not, I mean, it's in short supply like everything, so it's, you know, I've been told in some cases, you know, concrete plants, you're ordering 2 to 3 weeks ahead of time.
It's nearly
before you
$200.
can get it, and it's yet delivered, a yard yet delivered, so that, it's, the prices have gone crazy.
And you don't know where you can get it or not. That's the next thing, that's worse than the prices.
And FDR, Mr. Chairman, is a good product. I mean, I like it, but I feel like it has its place like any other thing does.
Well, we utilize FDR on Post Road.
Sure.
And the first phase of the FDR could have went smoother, no pun intended. The second part was much better.
So, and, well, I'm gonna get into the weeds.
Well,
That's
all right, so,
Kudos for saving money.
yep.
And that's what you do, that's your expertise, so.
All right, do we need to make an official action by the board to make these adjustments?
I think as long as because we have not bid it out yet, as long as the record reflects that y'all are clear that from his prior presentation, that the method is gonna change, I don't see that you need to take a vote.
Commissioner Goodger, you good? Fine with that? I'm good with that. Commissioner Hoffman?
We can save, that money we're saving is almost enough to do Gerald Road. Right?
Unit.
Yes, I'm sorry. What was that?
The money we're saving, you said, I think Gerald Road was 198, and you said we're saving around 150.
148, 375.
Yeah, Gerald's Road is, so Gerald's Road would be around $195,000.
So that's,
That's already included in
Yeah,
this. And you still have 148 left.
yeah. After that, after Gerald Road.
Go back to Satterfield.
Pardon?
Go back to Satterfield to save.
Well, and that's actually a segue, and Derek, stay where you're at. We've had conversations about Claude Sims Road. Timing is everything. While we still have to, we would be required to bid out the project under state guidelines, especially if we utilize LMIG funds. Do we have enough time to bid out Claude Sims Road, get the bidding process completed with potentially, and I stress that word potentially, the construction company that's out there working on the Board of Education's project would have an opportunity to bid on it. And if they were to get the project, do we have enough time if we bid this out that it would qualify for LMIG?
And I believe so, yes, because they have, I think it's 3 years on the LMIG funds that have to be expended, once we get awarded that grant. So we have been awarded the $200,000 grant, and we can, the one key, there's a couple things, but the main key thing we're needing to finish out, to actually put this thing out, as you said, Mr. Chairman, we'll have to bid it, is we've got to have, the erosion control plans have to be complete, because we're over an acre disturbed. And I measured it to see if we could cheat under the acre, and it can't be done. So we do have, I do have a price to finish that with the current engineer, which is $5,000. I think I sent that to Shannon I recommended that we need to send that downrange, in my opinion, today, to get them going on that, so at least we have that, because it's gonna take 2 to 3 weeks to finish the plans, we gotta submit the Georgia Soil Erosion for review, submit the NOI, that's gonna take at least 2 weeks before we can start, but all that's going on, we can be putting, the meat and potatoes of the contract together, but I don't know what to put into the erosion control prices unless I got plans.
Well, there's already a settlement fund on this project too, that could probably be utilized for this. Because the other project that it was utilized for is finished now.
Right.
So there's no reason why we couldn't do that. And the next good thing is, there's a contractor working there now, if we could get the bid process in and maybe the scope of work pop up while he's still out there working for the Board of Education, could get a great deal out of him too, save even more money.
Yes, sir.
Did you, and you spoke something about possibly phasing that job, having it 2 days.
Yeah, I think that would probably be the most, the best option was to phase it from the soccer fields down to the bridge, and then, you know, once we, Jeffrey, you know, our people finished up in September, you know, we can slide back over there and keep going, as weather permitting, you know, until we can start building that out in the next spring. You know, we can bring in the, you know, do the asphalt paving and all that that's necessary to open her up.
Two things, Mr. Melton, that $5,000 falls under your purview, so that would not have to be approved by this body necessarily. It's $5,000. And by the way, I've got to eat crow. I didn't recognize you at the beginning of the meeting.
It just fits in so well.
Yeah.
I've been here all the time, Travis.
You've been here for 2 years, huh?
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't, I'm Derek, stay where you're at. We're gonna take care of this, but I've got to eat crow just a little bit. And do me a favor and hit pause on the recorder, because I don't like making a mistake. As everyone probably is aware by now, our previous county manager, due to personal reasons, left us last week. We were very fortunate that Mr. Melton, who retired from White County as county manager, has agreed to come on board with us a few months to allow us time to breathe, digest, to go out on the street and advertise to fill the full-time county manager position. And Mike, I do want to say thank you, and I apologize again for not recognizing that, because I really feel like this is home. I feel like you're back home. So anyway, so ladies and gentlemen, so I apologize.
Thank you, Mike Melton.
And no, you can't get a raise now.
Let me just say thank you to the board for having confidence in me, and thanks to all the folks in the community that have been so warm and welcoming to welcome me back.
All right, back to business. You'll take care of that soil erosion.
Yeah.
Number 2, Claude Sims. All right, what do you guys need from us as a board? Do we have a motion to go out for bid on Claude Sims to go ahead and get this in process?
I mean, we don't, you,
Well, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm gonna overstep you. I don't
No,
think, I
you
don't
go
know,
ahead.
I mean, I think if the board has consensus that they want to put it out.
I presume everybody's good with this.
And then, of course, the contract will come back to the commission.
Correct. I just want to make sure we're all, because timing is the essence. We got a chance to save some money while the contractor's out there, contingent upon that contractor getting the bid. It's not a given. You follow where I'm going at. Ladies and gentlemen, on Claude Sims Road, that's the connecting road that was closed 20-something years ago or so, that connects, okay, my brain just stopped. I can take you there. It connects Tesney Gap Valley School, the soccer fields, over to essentially Shepherd Drive, which connects to the bypass, to the Appalachian Parkway. And years ago, that road was that was stopped, dead-ended. We have worked with the state of Georgia. I give Derek kudos. The state of Georgia has agreed to contribute some funds. That's the amount of $200,000 if we reopen that road, especially because it's another connector for a school in the community. It would behoove us to try to get this moving. So bear with us. This is something we've talked about for quite some time. And after the meeting, well, tomorrow or so, we can answer any additional questions if any were to arise. So, and Derek, I think you can give a charge now. Let's get moving on Claude Sims and get it going.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right. Bear with me. I got my book turned upside down. All right, item 11. Ms. Jody Ligon, our finance director, present her monthly financial status report. Ms. Jody, I've spoken enough. It's your turn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This will be the financial report for the month of February 2022. Revenues collected were at $1,116,554. Expenditures $1,662,641. February being the 8th month of our budget year, we should be around 67%. Revenues collected are at 83%, and our expenditures are at 60%. Alcohol taxes and fees collected for the fiscal year, $106,342, which is 71% received. Title ad valorem tax for the month of February was $160,983, which gives us a fiscal year total of $1,254,933, or 74% received. Our local option sales tax for February receipt was $305,170, for a fiscal year total of $2,885,260, or 82% received. Hotel motel tax collections for the month of February, $126,946, for a fiscal year total of $1,541,538, which puts us at 102% received. Our separate funds, solid waste is at 48% spent, 911 is at 68%, drug task force 47%, and the unnoticed circuit is at 59%. Our SPOS collection for the month of February was $508,617. Cleveland and Helen both received a portion of $100,706 each, and we were able to put $237,119 to our county project fund. So far on our 2020 SPOS program, we have collected $8,389,796. And so for the calendar year of 2022, that puts us at $1,141,011. And that concludes the presentation.
Jill, any questions for Miss Jody?
Keep it up, Jody.
You keep doing these presentations, we're gonna let you keep coming back, like we're letting Mike come back. So.
Do a good job.
All right. And just to note, we'll be having our upcoming budget hearings with departments April 18th and 19th. That's just a point of clarification. Moving on to item 12, ladies and gentlemen, we do have an executive session in order to discuss items of personnel at the end of this meeting. So with that, item 12, public participation. This gives us an opportunity to hear from you as our constituents. Any comments that you might have regarding county business, or if there's any questions you have that we don't have answers to, we'll be directing our staff this evening to get you an answer as soon as possible. So with that, I'm going to open the floor, and what I'll do is get you to raise your hand and have you come to the podium, and I just need to get your name and address for the record. I see one hand coming up. Yes, sir. Come on down.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Sam Williams, and I live at 104 Bunting Road in Cleveland, Georgia. If I may, can I give a handout to each and every one of y'all?
Yes, sir. And you have a copy for our clerk as well?
I do.
Okay, awesome.
I got two.
Okay. Thank you. As I said before, I live at 104 Bunting Road, Cleveland, Georgia. But I'm also the trustee of 178 acres in the Cooch Valley, the property that's been in my family since 1822. So even though I haven't always lived in White County, being the person responsible for paying taxes to White County, I felt like I've had skin in the game. But today I'm here to speak as a White County voter for the first time. I live up at Yonder Mountain now, what my wife calls the slippery slope. I want to make 3 points today. Number one, I'm going to ask you to please expedite the historic district ordinance. Number two, please consider using the current voting precincts as as boundaries for the historic districts. Number three, encourage the 10 distinct communities to apply for historic district status. As I think all of you know, on today's agenda, there was supposedly going to be a zoning request change from C1 to C2, and that was withdrawn. And it was withdrawn by the property owner because at the planning commission meeting, he saw almost 100 or so people that were really in clear opposition to this event venue that he wanted to put in on Highway 17. We might not be that lucky the next time. So we need more protection in the Coochie Valley. And y'all have the tool to make that happen right in your hands. The Model Historic District Overlay developed by Joe Rothwell, a senior planner at GMRDC. He worked closely with the Historic District Overlay Committee that y'all set up to help him guide it through that piece of ordinance through the to fruition. Let me refresh your memory about the intent of the ordinance. It's meant first and foremost to protect historic areas and their surroundings. To quote Mr. Rothwell, new building in these areas should complement rather than interrupt, obscure, or otherwise damage or destroy historic areas and their viewsheds. Point number one, I believe that you have every intention of seeing this through. And I have an email from Chairman Turner to Alan Snowball just prior to the vote on land use saying that the county also wanted a historic district overlay, which would include the historic campgrounds, the Coochie Valley, and other items. He goes on to say that he thinks the community has given the commissioners a directive to move forward. And I think this was several years ago, right before the vote for land use went into effect. I know your job is not easy. Political realities like budgets, getting budgets passed, and unexpected events like having planners and county managers unexpectedly resigning and mess up the best of intentions and timetables. I'm here to ask you to put the HDO back on the front burner. The University of Georgia has done a countywide inventory of historic properties. The model ordinance has been written. The Santee Coochie community is ready to take the lead to help other communities go through the process of getting recognized and placed on the National Register of Historic Places. Everything's in place. Point number two, please consider having the 10 voting districts delineated as part of the historic district overlay. After all, they are the outgrowth of the early militia districts of some 200 years ago. It would be easy for the planning commission to overlay these on an existing county map. Later, the planning commission can develop and include a set of county-wide regulations for all districts, followed by customized regulations for each district based on citizen input. Property owners in each district should have input on what restrictions and requirements are unique to them. These are some of the details that each district would need to address, like what kind of industry might be allowed. Would hog farms be allowed or no hog farms? What about big box stores, cell towers, slope and development guidelines? And of course, where there should be a financial incentive for protecting and maintaining historic property. Reduced taxes perhaps. Notices to property owners could go out and assessment notices without much additional cost. There are many historic properties all over my county. Buildings, barns, churches, stores, from one end of the county to the other. But there are also 2 recognized historic districts, the Coochie Valley and Santee Valley. In the 1980s, the community did the hard work of getting placed on the National Register of Historic Places. These 2 districts should be treated differently than individual properties because they are different. Give them the recognition they deserve by officially recognizing them as the historic districts of the county zoning map. As As enough like-minded people in a community decide to band together, they can do the hard work it takes to become recognized as a historic district. And finally, point number 3, your encouragement. Encourage each community to work to become their own distinct historic district. So hopefully, within a few years, White County will have multiple historic districts, each with its own character and unique qualities, each with the potential for drawing tourist dollars to White County on their own merit. And I'm throwing in a 4th point. I think you should appoint a working group of experts to help move this process forward. Planners like Alan Stovall, Joe Rothwell, and Dale Jager, along with the team from UGA, help conduct community meetings. This is a long-term project that each community can choose to go through if they want to get recognized historic district status, with enforceable local rules and restrictions. I know this is a lot of information to digest, but please don't put this off any longer. Thank you for your time. Any questions?
Mr. Williams, we'll have to take some time to read your paperwork you've handed to us. And yes, I believe it was, I'm looking at Mr. Erbley, who chaired that committee. It was last.
I didn't chair it. Will Wagner did. I was the vice chair.
Okay, we have that. I will say this, Mr. Sell, do a little back on your documentation, see what comments you've received from the board regarding the overlay. When I say board, this board of commissioners, and then let's circle back next week's spring break, but next couple of weeks to see where we are on the project. And gentlemen, if you do have time, they are right.
It's been on the back burner for some reason. We have already going on.
Well, no, no, the overlay wasn't finished until the last, John, year ago or so. I can't give you an exact month. So
The presentation was made in April of last year.
Okay, so we said we needed so many months to review it. Unfortunately, I'm going to be very open with everyone, audience. We've gone through some management changes. But here's the deal, that it's time to get off the file. Take that off the recorder. But now, and I'm referring to the Salty Nacoochee Valley. A lot of the other communities may not view this the way that a lot of you folks might in the Salty Valley, and I say that very respectfully. So I think our historic overlay references the majority of the Salty Nacoochee Valley. So that'll be the item we'll be looking at, as well as the historic campgrounds and the cemeteries, to make sure those are protected in this same historic overlay.
All right.
So, Mr. Williams, thank you, and thank you for bringing it back to our attention.
No problem. Thanks for listening. Appreciate it.
All right. All right. Mr. Irvin, I saw your hand go up first.
Gentlemen, John Erbley, 1037 Joe Black Road, Salty Nacoochee. Just want to thank all of y'all and all of y'all for this county gets it right, ultimately. I get to speak to all of y'all socially. I don't think you're lying to me, ever. A lot of counties don't have the leadership we have to develop this relationship with the state of Georgia. Helped again with this grant for some road work. So it's a big responsibility, but White County does it right. And I was part of that process, still am. Don't want any of you to think that we don't love the Salty Nacoochee Valley.
We don't.
Well, there's people a lot more enamored with it than even I am, and I defer to them. Sam Williams has been one of the loudest mouths in the valley, and now he's a citizen of White County, and I'm proud to call him my friend. But it's an important issue. The things that we could give away unknowingly in the bureaucracy of making it bigger and better, and we cannot take them back. So I appreciate y'all's efforts. Craig has been particularly helpful with the Saltine Coochie Center, and I can call Craig, and if he's busy working, he'll call me back. Same with any of y'all, and I want to just say I appreciate living in White County.
Thank you, John. Appreciate your comments. All right. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Ernest Musa. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate the way your meetings are run. I come from another location where the way things ran were not as efficient or as informative. As a resident, I would like to see your information packet that you used to prepare for the meeting, if you could put it online for us, because the only time we get to see this is a snapshot as you're discussing it during the meeting, and there are some things we'd like to dive into, myself personally, and maybe possibly reach out to you prior to the meeting, because the comment section comes after the actions have been taken. And if I had a question, there's not an opportunity for me to address it to everyone or ask questions in that regard. Thank you.
If you will reach out to Ms. Shanda, our clerk, she can provide information regarding as to get you. So if you'll hang around after the meeting and give her your contact information.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Lynn Smith, and my house is on 548 High Ridge Road. And I'm new to the area, and I just wanted to speak in support of the historic overlay. I spent my nursing career, 30 years, in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, and it started out as a beautiful, charming little place, and it's not like that anymore. And I just wanted you to, just wanted to speak in support, especially of preserving the Noguchi Valley.
Thank you. Appreciate this. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Chairman Turner. Joe Welchel, 234 Bittersweet, Saltine Coochie. I want to add just one other idea to this idea of the historic district designation and in the interest that these people all expressed. First of all, I want to second everything that John Early said about my perception of the integrity and work ethic of this county and the commissioners who run this. We really do appreciate it. And I want to add that in addition to the very heartfelt sense of passion about preserving the integrity of that valley and its personality, its culture that we have now, beyond that, thinking strictly through the lens of how to optimize the county's interest as a total. We hear from a lot of people who come through as tourists in that valley, sitting around the shops, the coffee shop, just talking to tourists, giving them directions. When they come here, generally, as you know, their focal point is Helen, but then they see the Saltine Coochie Valley and Saltine Coochie, and it's the combination of the Helen experience along with that diverse, different sort of experience they get over in Saltine Coochie as they go by Hardman Farm. Just a package of those three things together creates, in my opinion, a marketing asset for this county that if I look at this purely through the lens of our pecuniary interest and financial interest, I believe a lot of our hotel and motel tax revenues that come through that sector of our county over there could be attributed to the integrity of that character and that personality that it has right now. So even though I'm a local resident there and I love everything about it as it is, I really think the county as a whole benefit from that extra benefit we get as a total marketing asset, essentially, from the county. So I just would like to add that particular perspective to it.
Mr. Marshall, thank you. Anyone else? Okay. All right. Looking ahead, because this was a called, combined work session and called meeting this evening, there will not be a meeting this coming Monday, April the 4th. However, I do anticipate a called meeting perhaps the middle of April to conduct some county business. I'm not sure the dates, that we won't know that probably for a couple of weeks, but we will conduct the more than sufficient time to notify the media and those that are on the mailing lists. With that, Mr. Melton, from, I know it's your first day back on the job, anything from the county manager perspective?
No, sir. Just glad to be back.
We are too. All right, Ms. Shannon, from the clerk's perspective, everything good?
Yes, sir. I don't have anything.
All right, gentlemen, anything that you'd like staff to be working on between now and the next meeting or by the end of April? And just to reiterate, I've made a commitment that we will circle back while we've had some extenuating circumstances that have arisen lately. That's beside the point. Business must continue forward. Mr. Self, if you'll get Mr. Melton, and we'll circle back to the historic overlay. I'd appreciate it. Thank you. All right, with that, gentlemen, I'll entertain a motion to enter an executive session.
So moved.
Mr. Nick's motion, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Goodger's second. Any other discussion amongst the board? Having none, all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed say no. Motion carries. Before you leave, though, Mr. Harding, when's your last day?
Wednesday.
Wednesday. Well, I want to say something on behalf of the board. On behalf of the White County Board of Commissioners, and not every community, and I'm going to take some of your comments that were made out a few moments ago. Wayne and Dean, from a local news perspective, appreciate the fact that you treat our citizens, that we've got some sense, and that if you'll print the facts, you don't need to write that down. Stop recording. Anyway, that our citizens have some common sense, and that you can print the facts, and we can make our own judgment decisions without the front page always being an editorial per se of someone's personal opinion. And thank you, and I appreciate what you've done for White County. We hate to see you make a set change. I'm not trying to embarrass you here in front of everybody. That's not the purpose, I promise you. But just we want to say thank you. And
Never been thrown on the bus by anybody who like any better than you and them.
Wayne, you've always been fair, and I appreciate that too. We've had a couple before you that hot headlines, still hot papers, but you've always been fair, and I appreciate that.
I think we were all surprised last week, I was, reading the paper that you were leaving, or gonna stay in White County though, I understand. So, we appreciate the
Just got
relationship
used
we've
to
had with you.
Stephanie not being there, I mean.
yeah. Anyway, thank you, Wayne. Appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, for the media here, I don't anticipate any decisions being made in executive session that will be coming out and making the form of a motion outside of taking action. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, please bear with us. We're going to executive session. You're excused, and have a great week. All right.
I bet you I could run a